What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? In this video, I'm going to be going over a few examples of losing IPG setups and why they lost and how you can get better and learn from those losses. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Setup number one. So this setup I get a lot of questions about. And if you can't already see it on the screen, it's the setup right here. Okay, so we have a 5-minute IPG. Looks good, good momentum, but it was stopped out. And why does a setup like this get stopped out? Well, this one's easy. Well, to me, but when we get this set up, okay, my number one thing I look for in a setup is one, engineer liquidity to form above, and two, a nice spot I can move my stop to break even. Now, is there any nice engineer liquidity above? Kind of. It's all right. You know, if we kind of draw this trend line here, excuse me, it's all right. Okay. But is there a good break even point? And the answer to this one is no. There is nowhere to go break even here until it hits almost the price target. And to me, like that's too far and there's too much of a risk to take. So oftentimes if we get a setup and the break even is almost at the TP, I likely will not take it. Another reason, okay, and this is a little more advanced, but in this example, you're actually going for a protected high, okay, which basically means it's a high that took out another high right here. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So see how it's a high that took out another high, but the key thing is it's in a fair value gap. Okay, see how it's in this fair value gap right here? That's the key thing, okay? And it makes this a rejection block. Okay, so if we were to go hit there in the first place, it's a rejection block and we would probably stop you out, or we just not pass it in the first time. Okay, we need to rebalance another gap or sweep more sell side or get more structure before price is going to want to get above this rejection block. So oftentimes when I see a nice momentum for value gap play like this where it's broken, I don't like targeting the high that swept another high inside of a fair value gap. It does not work out that much. It does work out occasionally, but you will be safer if you skip out on setups like that because it definitely can be risky. All right, example number two. Okay, this is from NQ Wednesday, September 17th. So we had an SMT here and we had a nice bullish candle up here. Okay, now a lot of people texting me about this. They go, Daji, why this lose? And this is not a loss. Okay, what you have to understand about my model is I'm really good at knowing when to move south to break even because I know if price hits a certain point and rejects, it will not work out well. So we get the entry here, you know, it works, goes up, hits this gap up here, and then just completely dumps, probably would have stopped you out. Now, when you get in this trade, you have to notice that there's no internal high until the TP. So it kind of goes back to the thing where there's no spot to go break even until the TP hits. And I don't like that. So that brings up my other rule. My other rule about break even points is like go break even at the next inefficiency or the next gap. So basically what that means is even though there's no internal high here, there's a gap up here. So instead of putting my break even at the next high, it would be at this gap, okay? Because I don't know if price is going to reject it, and if it does, it's probably not a good sign. I would rather see us spool through it, and that gives me the most confidence in price going up. So if we got a setup like this, and there's a gap above, and there's a nice V-shaped recovery here, I'm just going to go break even at the next gap. So while a lot of people are losing in this setup, I'm just getting stopped out of break even, which is okay. It's not a loss, not the end of the world, and yeah, so that's why this setup really isn't a loss, but it's also, you know, why a lot of people, you know, take loss on it. But that's what I do. I would just go break even there. All right, and last but not least, example number 3. A lot of people took this loss during FOMC, which is okay. I don't think it was a terrible loss, but I'm just going to explain it right now. So as you can see, we had a nice momentum candle going through a fair value gap, and it honestly looks really good in live time. I will not, you know, I'm not going to discredit anyone for taking this because it wasn't a bad trade, okay? I ended up taking this loss as well, but there's still reasons why it wasn't as high probability as, you know, how I see you can get an 80% win rate. So there's this play, and then there's this play right here. And little did you know we were going to get another 1-minute setup that looked almost just as perfect as this one right after. And you don't know that, which is fine. But why might a setup like this work And why might the other setup that I just showed you fail? Well, it all has to do with like legs and price, okay, market structure. When we get this inverse, you're inversing a whole nother leg, right? So we have a leg here, and then we're inversing like a leg that we just weren't even on. Okay, so basically if I go to a line chart, it's much easier to see. But do you see how when I go to the line chart here, see how we have a leg here, right? And we have a leg here. So we have number 1 and number 2. We're inversing like number 1 when we're technically on number 2. So you want to ideally enter here, not here, which is inversing another leg. That's why this setup was way better, because this setup not only has a really good V shape and you're entering in the same leg, but it also has a great break-even point, right? Whereas this break-even point was technically here, but there wasn't ever an entry model here. Like you're trying to get in here in the same leg, but there was no entry at this time, and the break-even point would have been here. So we technically already hit that swing high, and your break-even point would have been here instead, which I noticed have a way lower win rate than if you were to take the V shape here and then you just go break even here. Okay, so it's just something I've noticed through market experience. Take it with a grain of salt, go back test it. But was it a good play still? Yes. I would say a play like this still has a pretty decent win rate if you're on the right side of the liquidity. I would say at least 60% win rate. This one just happened to fail. This one just happened to work. But it's okay, because honestly, you could have just taken this. It would have made up for the loss, and that's okay. So a lot of people are texting about this, so I decided to make a video on it. But that's my reasoning. And even though I still took this loss, I still think it was a fine loss, and I also accept the probabilities. Like going into this, I knew it'd have a little lower win rate, but I was willing to accept the risk because I was still pretty confident in the draw and liquidity. And we ended up getting a setup later I just made up for on the win, so that's fine too. Last but not least, FxTrader Funding is a prop firm, and it's having a sale right now. I promise I'm not trying to scam you guys. They literally have $50,000 accounts you can get for like 40 bucks. And if you're going to practice setups like these, I strongly recommend getting one if it's available in your country, because with Apex accounts, if you're blowing the $50,000, like you're not actually blowing $50,000. You're just losing the $40 you paid for it, and then you can just get more. And once you do get good at trading, which I think Apex will make you the best trader out of every single firm because that's the hardest, you can copy trade up to 20 accounts on them. And think about it. That means a $100 trade is actually a $2,000 trade if you're copying trade 20 accounts, which is absolutely insane. So I strongly recommend using my code. Links in the description for that. Go check it out. I think it's the best way to practice. And yeah, without further ado, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.